I'm bold like a boss and I'm little like Debbie. I know what your bros, I got richer than Getty. I'm holding the guap and I'm whipping the Yeti. Yeah, Kari can play with advanced moves. I'm fucking my girl and her man too. I'm taking the ball like Durant do. My soul is the one that I can't lose. I soak up the sun like a sand dune. I'm holding up love with the bamboo. I'm rolling the blunt by the candle. Taking the game, running it back without taking a drink. Yeah, I'm the one and I'm making a wave. Rolling the blunt and I'm blazing a J. I'm escaping the brain, go straight for the cake. I'ma take to the bank, not taking a break. I'm made for the race, I pray for the day. I wake with a bake in the greatest state.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jay, he's Maddie, and it's Sunday, so it's time for some NFL football.
It is Sunday, week 7, and the Dallas Cowboys aren't playing, so I can't face any misery this week. So I'm really happy, excited, and there are some huge games this week as well. Some really, really great games to come, and we're going to try something out in terms of games today. We're going to try a little intro game, which it'll be fun because obviously we're the Yankee and the Brit, so we pronounce things differently. And what I've got here, Jay, is 5 British place names that I'd like you to try and guess the name of. And just the pronunciation is all that we need. Let me just get this up. Right, okay. So we just need the pronunciation of these British place names. So, Jay, what do you got for the first one?
Yorkshire.
No, not Shire. Just Yorkshire.
Well, I don't care. It could be like who the gives a fuck England. Okay.
It can be who gives a fuck England. So this is Yorkshire, not Shire. What about this one, Jay?
Birmingham.
So American, Jay. So American. This is Birmingham. But Birmingham, because we just can't be asked to finish most of the syllables that we have. Jay, the capital of Scotland.
Edinburgh.
Edinburgh.
Okay. I was trying to say it like I was from Iceland, but my accents are awful.
Edinburgh. Where obviously where J.K. Rowling wrote most of Harry Potter.
We pretend she had nothing to do with that.
Yeah, that's always a good way to do it. Jay, this
Worcestershire.
Worcestershire,
like the Worcestershire sauce.
The sauce. That's where it's from.
Nobody pronounces that the same in the U.S. By the way.
Yeah, I know.
Worcestershire, nobody.
I've purposely picked ones that I've heard Americans pronouncing in certain ways. But this one, Jay, this one is my favorite. This is in Wales. This is the longest town name in the UK. Give it a go.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
This is, Jay, Clembaiaf Pwgingi Kilgechin Job Fanicilio Gogogoch. Is
I think you just made that up. It looks like you had a seizure while typing. That's what it looks like.
Just a cat just dragged its way across the keyboard. But no, this is Welsh. This is a Welsh town name. It's the longest town name in the UK. And thank you very much, Jay, for participating in my game. I appreciate it.
Good, because my Indian accent was coming next, and nobody wanted to hear that. So.
I think more games to come in this.
I don't know why. If I would have actually done an Indian accent, it probably would have sounded racist. So it's probably not.
Do you know what? Weirdly, whenever people do Welsh accents, they always end up being converted into Indian accents, and I have no idea why. I don't get it. But Jay, this is week 7. NFL football, and we have some huge games this week. One going on right now where the Jags are putting it on the Patriots a little bit at the moment. But Jay,
last time I looked, the Patriots were up. See, that's how long ago it was since I looked.
Yeah, 25 points to 10, end of the third quarter.
Yeah, it was 10-7 last time I looked.
Yeah, it's not. I don't think it's a game that many people are watching. To be fair, it's in Wembley in the UK. But Jay, I'm going to take us back to Thursday Night Football, where the Saints beat the Broncos. The Broncos beat the Saints 33 points to 10. And Jay, are people underestimating the Broncos' playoff chances? What do you rate the Broncos' playoff chances as being?
No, I don't think they're underestimating the Broncos' playoff chances. I think we all overestimated how good the Saints were.
Yeah, I think we maybe looked at the Saints and thought
the first two games were an anomaly, and we let it seep into our subconscious, I think.
Yeah, I think there's a cause to say, oh, we've got a few injuries and those kind of things. I get it. I get that, but they were dominated like last night, on Thursday night. They the Broncos just put them to the sword. The Broncos found their run game. Javonte Williams showed out as well for the Broncos there, and I think the Broncos do have a chance of making the playoffs. Like I really do. They're now they're 4-3. They're 4-3 going into week 8. They've got a really good defense. They've got a solid run game. Their offensive line seems to be playing well. And do you know what? Bo Nix is a serviceable quarterback to me. But Jay, is Bo Nix a running quarterback? After watching that game, is Bo Nix a running quarterback? He seems to be playing a very Justin Fields style of play.
It's pretty much the only thing he's got going for him right now. Because his passing, I watch, he overthrows and underthrows a ton of people. His throwing's not there. So without him running, they don't have an offense.
Yeah, it was such a weird game because I thought that Bo Nix actually played a pretty good game. But what it looks like he's doing right now is just first read. And if it's not there, take off and run. Like that's what he's doing, which is the Justin Fields playbook. Like he just doesn't look through reads. Doesn't look through coverage whatsoever. And that's the opposite of what I think we all thought Bo Nix would be. Obviously, the most experienced college quarterback of all time. We thought he'd be ready to read defenses, make the right throws. And I think the play that summed up where Bo Nix, the sequence of plays that summed up kind of where Bo Nix is as a quarterback right now is that play where he had 2 open wide receivers on the left side, completely blown coverage on 2 open receivers. And he just put it perfectly in the middle of them both. He found the perfect turf right in the middle of them both, and just didn't make that throw. He underthrew Franklin underneath, and then the tight end was open. And then the next play, he runs for 10 yards and picks up a first down. So people forget about it because the drive continued, but that should have already been a touchdown. And against the better teams, you're going to struggle with that.
So right now, the Broncos would be 8th. If the Chargers win, they'd be 9th in the AFC.
Yeah, and I do think like Bo Nix is a rookie quarterback, so deserves that opportunity to get to be allowed to get better.
Yeah, I just think Denver's as average as we thought they were, and I think I overestimated the Saints.
Yeah, I think Denver has a sneaky opportunity of making it into the playoffs. And I think the Saints were overvalued.
I think the
and they
Bengals
got a few
have a better shot of making the playoffs than they do.
Yeah, I suppose. But the Saints is so strange. The Saints are so strange because like you give them the benefit of the doubt because of the injuries, but how much of the other night was injuries? I'm not sure. Did Spencer Rattler show us why he's a 5th round pick? How much of that game was on Spencer Rattler?
No, and I think Spencer Rattler obviously has room to grow, but
yeah,
I actually feel like I saw more from his passing from him than I did from Bo Nix.
Yeah, I think that Spencer Rattler made some more.
I think he's got a more talented arm.
He's right. He 100% has a more talented arm than Bo Nix. I definitely agree with you. I just think watching that particular game, I think Bo Nix just went. All that Sean Payton seems to want Bo Nix to do is like, don't lose us the game. Don't throw away the game. Our defense is playing well. Use your legs. And they established the run game early on. Like once they gave that ball to Javonte Williams and he was just going 5 yards a carry, there was no need for them to ever throw the ball really much from there.
And maybe I'm just a hater, but every time I watch Bo Nix play, I go, that's exactly why I didn't want Minnesota to draft him.
Yeah, I think Bo Nix has proved to us since the start of the season that any 5 seasons ago, Bo Nix would have been a 3rd round draft pick, which would have been fair. Like that would have been such a if Bo Nix is starting for you as your 3rd round draft pick and is playing like this, you're pretty happy. I think you're very, very happy. Like I don't think many people thought the Broncos would have a winning record by this point in the season, and they're 4-3. Like they're playing some good football. They're playing a bit of complimentary football. I think Spencer Rattler again looked frazzled when he was forced to take off outside of the pocket. I do think he was having a run for his life though, because the Saints offensive line has turned back to what the Saints offensive line has been for like a long period of time.
I think there's a handful of backup quarterbacks right now that are better than Bo Nix. So,
well, he's a rookie, so I think you give him opportunity to grow, and while he's playing,
okay, but like there's a handful of career backups that I'm like I'd rather have than Bo Nix.
Yeah, I think he's playing winning football right now, and he's a rookie, so he has the opportunity.
I don't think any of their wins are because of him. That's the thing.
I
100%
agree with you on. I 100% agree with you on that. Definitely. Jay, is it with rumors about Alvin Kamara coming out and being traded and those kind of things? Is it time? Is it finally time for the Saints to just blow this up and get their cap room sorted?
Well, they can, and it's fine if they want to trade him. But what are you going to get for him? Is my argument. Is throwing your season away this early and saying, okay, we give up worth the 6th and 7th round pick swap you get for him. And the fact that whoever trades for him, he's a half a year rental because he's got a $25 million salary next year, which nobody's going to pay. So that he's going to get cut at the end of the year unless somebody redoes his deal. But if I'm Kamara, I'm like, you're going to have to hit me off with at least 15, 20 million a year for 2-3 years with what I got, or I'm just going to hit free agency and go to who I want, because most teams aren't going to want to pay him more than 5, maybe 6 million a year.
Yeah.
And at that point, if I'm him, I'd rather choose my team.
Yeah, I guess it depends who's coming out for Alvin Kamara as well. There was a few sources. There was a few sources about it. I'm not any big stuff or anything, but the Chiefs were mentioned, the Cowboys were mentioned, the Steelers were mentioned, like all good teams to go.
See, now if you were going to trade me to the Chiefs, that's a whole different story.
Yeah.
Like
that's how I was thinking.
Kamara, and then you're like, hey, we'll trade you to the Chiefs. Let's go. And I might even sign an extension with the Chiefs on a cheaper deal. But the disarray the Cowboys are in, I'm like, if you're sending me there, I'm not signing shit. Like, I want to see how this plays out. I want to see how the rest of this year goes. I'm not committing to nothing, because if they don't get their shit together, I don't want to be on a losing team. Also, with the Cowboys, they're not going to be able to pay him nearly anything after they fucking do Micah's contract next year too.
Yeah, I think the Cowboys actually have a decent amount of cap space this year and next year, just because of the way that they've structured everybody's deal. But then again, we just get into cap hell just later on, because if you're just pushing everybody's deal towards the end of everything, then you're just going to continue to get.
Now, if it was the Cowboys last year, it would be a different argument. But the way they're playing this year, I'm like, I want to see how this goes before I sign an extension.
Yeah, or how much
Kamara, you have to be ring chasing at this point in your career.
Yeah, or how much money they're offering if they're redoing the deal.
Is that what's more important when you're like 30 years old? Like, because he's made money, so maybe if he's leaving the Saints, he wants better shot at a ring. So I don't know where, but Alvin Kamara is one of the weird ones too, because of his age, his position, and what he's got. It's not guaranteed, but what his contract's at next year.
Yeah, he's also just a weird point in the way that he plays. Like, he's so up and down. Alvin Kamara, for like the past 3 years, he has these games where he just goes crazy. Like the start of the season, he was unbelievable, and now he's gone kind of missing recently. So I think Alvin Kamara would be an interesting. If I'm the Chiefs, I'm seeing if I can get Alvin Kamara and how much that would take, just with the uncertainty of their running back position and stuff like that.
I like Kareem Hunt there.
Yeah, I think you can't go wrong with adding like an Alvin Kamara there, and then when Pacheco comes back, and
isn't that the
you
same
also
guy?
have Kareem Hunt.
Kareem Hunt and Alvin Kamara, like the same guy when it comes to.
Yeah, I think Alvin Kamara is better than Kareem Hunt, but maybe not by a lot. Like, I'm not giving up a lot to go get him, but yeah. In terms of the Saints and whether it's time to blow it up, like the way that they're playing, they're not going to make the playoffs. Like, and when everybody comes back from injury, maybe they'll see what happens then. But the way that they're playing right now, and actually their division is pretty good at the moment. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs.
I don't remember the schedule, but I think they have 2 winnable games back to back too. So is that the time you want to get rid of him? I don't know.
Yeah, and I think you just look at the fact that you've been in cap hell for so long, and you maybe want to try some maneuvering. And if Spencer Rattler looks okay, like at least you have a guy on a rookie deal then. And I'd be kind of tempted to see what I can start to offload if I was the Saints as well. But
if somebody gives more than a pick swap, I'll be shocked.
Yeah, I think you're moving him for cap purposes, though. If you're moving Kamara, right? Like that's why.
But you still get the same cap purpose next year, and then you get a compensatory pick the year after. So I might look at it and go, well, if he's going to be a starter on another team next year, that's a third or a fourth round compensatory pick in 2026. So that's also.
Yeah, I think the Saints, from what I've read, and as I say, there's not loads and loads of sources about this. From what I've read, the Saints are asking for a third, and genuinely that could be why, because they know about the compensatory pick and the cap and all of that stuff. Also, turns out that Alvin Kamara didn't request the trade. By the way, everybody.
He wanted to make that perfectly clear on Twitter. He really was like.
Yeah, he was like, I didn't request.
He didn't say he's not wanting to go. He just said he didn't request it.
Yeah.
But I think he doesn't want to be looked at as like he caused trouble on the way out either when you're trying to get a new deal.
Yeah, definitely. And just to finish off that game, the Broncos, I thought, looked pretty good, like as an all-round team that can go out and win some games. I think the Saints looked particularly bad. It was early on, I text the group saying whoever has the Broncos defense is going to have a crazy amount of points from their defense by the end of this game. You could kind of see that by the halfway through the first quarter. Okay, Jay, moving on to our Sunday preview. We are in Sunday preview territory. This is segment 2, where we go through every single game that is going to happen from this point on for the rest of the week. And we also go through the betting odds for this. And just like to remind everybody, we're doing pretty well in terms of our betting right now. So bet with us if you're feeling comfortable. Jay, I think this week has thrown up a few games that are particularly difficult to call. One of them that I found a bit difficult to call, Jay, was your Vikings versus the Detroit Lions. Jay, Ben Johnson versus Brian Flores. Who comes out on top?
I don't know. And you're not going to give me to say much because I'm not jinxing the Vikings. So
this might be one of the best coached matchups of the year, with Kevin O'Connell and Brian Flores. And then, okay, we're not that keen on Dan Campbell, but the Ben Johnson, who's the defensive coordinator for the Lions? Do you know?
I don't remember.
I don't remember his name either. Anyway, but it's a lot of great coaches on display in this game, and I think that's the battle there. The Vikings defense against the Detroit Lions offense. I think a big scalp for the Vikings was confusing Aaron Rodgers, because so far they were really confusing great teams. Aaron Glenn, thank you. They were really confusing great teams, but very young quarterbacks. But getting the most experienced quarterback and confusing him, I think is just a huge prop to Brian Flores. Because if you remember last season, they obviously looked good once they brought Brian Flores in, but then offenses started to catch up with them a little bit towards the end of the season. But now he's clearly added this year. Yeah, he's clearly added some more wrinkles and has much better players, can just dial some stuff up a lot more.
Honestly, if you think about it, the wild thing with the Vikings is they got rid of their 2 cornerstone players in Kirk Cousins and Danielle Hunter and got better.
Yeah, that is crazy. I think there's some examples of that in certain teams, but I can't think of it as being.
Well, it's because they brought in Bernard, they brought in Van Ginkel, you know what I mean? They brought in Cashman's not playing today, but that was a big add, and then we're seeing what Hill's doing as a linebacker, and we're like, whoa, this young kid can fucking play because of Cashman's injuries. So I don't know. I feel like Tillery's a former first-round pick, and he just didn't pan out in other places. But he's young, a first-round pick, and now he's balling on that line. And where the Vikings have they have a deep defensive line where they just keep cycling guys through, so everybody's always fresh too. Flores, that's his big thing is he likes versatility. We play safeties at linebacker so you'll see Cam Bynum or Metellus or Hitman playing linebacker at times. Also, it's just wild watching fucking Harrison Smith line up at the goal line, and as soon as they snap the ball, he's fucking 25 yards deep playing the deep safety, and you're like, that fucker can still run for being in his 30s. You're like, holy shit.
Yeah, and I think when you look at this particular game, you have that excitement on the Vikings side of the ball where it's like really interchangeable positions, a really funky defense. Like if you actually sit down and watch the Vikings defense, like it is just like funky, I think is a good way to describe it.
This game comes down to, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think it comes down to, can Kevin O'Connell scheme against their defense? Because I think the defense for the Lions and the Vikings, or the offense for the Lions and the Vikings defense, will battle each other. Yeah. So the Lions have a pretty good defense too, but it's Kevin O'Connell or I just had it too. Aaron Glenn. That's the battle, I think, that decides the game. But I could be completely wrong. It could go the completely other way,
Yeah, when you're looking at the Vikings defensive side of the ball and the Lions offensive side of the ball, you're like, these are two very interchangeable, very quirky and funky offense versus defense, and there'll be some weird things happening there where can they confuse Jared Goff? Can they get some pressure on Jared Goff? Because Jared Goff has had a pretty clean pocket for the past 2 weeks as well. Can you confuse him? Can you do that? And then on the other side of the ball, you have like just a very traditional offense with excellent running back, two good wide receivers, accurate QB, solid offensive line.
It's Kevin O'Connell scheming though.
Yeah, it's the scheme and everything like that. But when you look at it on paper and where everybody lines up and those kind of things, it is quite it's not simple. Like he gets those guys open through really clever maneuvers, but it looks more traditional than how you guys look on the defensive side of the ball. And then you look at the Detroit defensive side of the ball, and like again, Aaron Glenn's defense is a very traditional defense. Now, how much of a miss do you think Aiden Hutchinson is going to be for the Detroit Lions in this game?
It's going to hurt. I don't know how much yet. That's the thing. None of us do, right? Like, yes, he's leading all of sacks, but is that all him? Was that them scheming for him? Is like, I'm not, and that ain't to take away from him, but we're going to see how big of a hit that is. And I know it's kind of riding the fence, but honestly, I don't think anybody knows how much it's going to hurt yet. Yeah. I just don't think we know, because Aiden Hutchinson's been getting off. But again, is that scheme? Is that them setting him up for, do they have somebody that can, pick up, do they have 2 or 3 guys that can pick up the slack for what Aiden, because you're not going to have one guy do what Aiden Hutchinson did, but you have 2 or 3 guys who can make it hurt less by picking up some of that slack. Do you have to scheme differently? I don't know. Like, I don't know what their plan is without him.
Yeah, I was actually looking at his opponents that he was facing when he was because he often goes against the right tackle, and the highest PFF graded player that Aiden Hutchinson went against actually is Terrence Steele, the Dallas Cowboys right tackle, which I think we can see a little bit of that and as well. And he's not actually played against loads of great right tackles so far this year. So yeah, I'm not sure how much of a difference it makes. I think in this game, I am surprised about the over-under, Jay. The over-under is actually at 50.5. What do you think on that one?
I'd probably take the over.
Yeah, it's just too good. It's two good defenses, so it feels weird to say over 50s, right? But they're also two great offenses.
I feel like, and I could like I said, I could be wrong, but I feel like both teams are going to score over 20 without even big. So I don't know. I think this could be one of those games where I'm fucking pacing, sweating, screaming at the TV. Like, I do think this is going to be a rough 3 hours.
Yeah, I could see that.
Win or lose, it's going to be a rough 3 hours. It's how are the hours after the game was what will the win or loss will determine.
Yeah. Jay, the Vikings are minus 1.5 point favorites against the Lions here. Who have you got?
Give me the Lions.
It's been working for you. It's been working for you poorly in terms of getting the picks right, but it's been working well for you in terms of actually getting the Viking wins, which are more important. Jay, I'm going to go for the Vikings on this one. I think their defense will have enough to disrupt that Lions offense throughout the game as well.
You know what I say about my superstition stuff? I'm not superstitious unless it comes to
stick
sport.
to it, man.
You know what I always say? It's only weird if it doesn't work.
Yeah, stick to it. It's working so far, so stick to it. We have this thing in cricket where if someone's playing really well and you're starting to score a lot of points and stuff like that, you don't move from your seat. You sit completely, like nobody in the dressing room moves.
I do weird shit like that on my couch. Okay, so I told you before, I take a drink of my cappuccino and they hit a big play. I take a drink of my cappuccino between every play. Like I'll have 3 cappuccinos in before the game's over, or my wife will walk in the room and they'll start doing good. I'll be like, you can't leave.
Yeah, God, I'm so excited that the Cowboys aren't playing this week, so I don't have to go through that.
I got 2 games in 4 days, so yeah.
Usually I hate when the Cowboys are on a bye, but I've never seen a team need a bye more in my entire life, so I'm pretty happy right now. Jay, the Giants are playing against the Eagles in the NFC East. The Eagles are 3-point favorites. Jay, what is causing the Eagles' lack of chemistry? Because they played against the Browns last week and they got the win, so you get the win, that's fine. But their offense just seemed to lack cohesion.
The more we talk about it, the more I'm convinced the problem is Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I feel like we talk about this every single week and we just start coming out that it's Jalen Hurts.
Because he's having problems with all the coaches he ever seems to have. And that's where if you keep having problems and you're the common denominator, then at some point you got to look within, right? Like if you're out in the real world and you don't get along with anybody, Maddie, don't at some point you have to turn and look at yourself and go, hey, maybe I'm the problem.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't think Kellen Moore is the best offense coordinator either, but I still think a lot of the dysfunction falls on Jalen Hurts, and it's because of everything we keep hearing about. He's having issues with Sirianni. He's having issues with Moore. I just feel like if that's the thing, then it can't be that everybody else is fucked up, right? It's got to be you at some point.
Yeah, I think that Kellen Moore schemes an incredibly quarterback unfriendly place.
Which is weird because he was a quarterback for a lot of years in the NFL.
Yeah, right. And what I mean by that isn't that it's a bad offense. Like his offense in Dallas scored a lot of points. What it's not good at is actually just getting through and just winning games. It's definitely not defense friendly because he's just so pass heavy. He's so pass heavy, and when you have Saquon Barkley in the backfield, just a reminder that Dak Prescott, when Kellen Moore was his offensive coordinator, if the Dallas Cowboys ran for 100 yards, Dak Prescott was undefeated during that time, but they didn't run enough. They didn't run for 100 yards enough, and when you've got Saquon Barkley in the backfield, I think you take some pressure off Jalen Hurts.
You'll hear Kevin O'Connell say this a lot, and this is a problem with Kellen Moore. You got to marry the defense to the offense and the offense to the defense. Kind of like when he talks about a quarterback, you have to marry your eyes to your feet, right? So if you're not working together with it, and part of the problem when he was in Dallas was, and people are going to think this is crazy, but you score too quick.
Yeah, exactly. They scored way too fast.
Breathe. Like this was Chip Kelly's problem in the NFL. He didn't realize, or some reason, that people have to breathe. So,
there was. It's good to see. That is a very Vikings name, by the way, Norman Thompson.
But I'm just saying, like it's you gotta give your defense a chance. Like, so if your defense has just been out there on a 60-play drive, a 60-yard 8-play drive, even if you hold them not scoring, they're tired. You can't come out and score in the first 40 seconds and expect your defense to hold up again, right? So you have to at least, you don't have to change the play calling, but you at least have to be in your quarterback's ear and be like, slow it down.
Yeah, when people say bad stuff about Kellen Moore and his time in Dallas, I do like to remind them that under Kellen Moore, Dak Prescott had those weird games before he broke his leg where he was like undoubtedly MVP. They were scoring 40 points a game. The issue is the defense wasn't very good. Like, we didn't have a good defense at all. So cool, you're scoring 40 points a game, but you're giving the opposition the opportunity to score 44. Like that's what was happening a lot of the time.
Really good teams. You see this back in the day with Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, and Minnesota does it. Other teams do it now too, but it's that no huddle, but it's not a rush, right? They're just keeping the same defense on the field, but they still take the clock down to 10 seconds. You know what I mean? The play clock. They just don't let you get a chance to substitute. That's a smart play, but you still have to let that time. You got to think of time, because defense is going to get way more tired than offense.
Yeah. And during their Super Bowl run, where Jalen Hurts goes to the Super Bowl, and it's actually a much more friendly way for Jalen Hurts to play football, where Steichen was the offensive coordinator, you could see and it was when they had when Jason Kelce was there and the offensive line was amazing, and all of that goes hand in hand. But there were games, I remember a game where the Cowboys played against them, where there was 10 minutes of a quarter left to go, and the Cowboys didn't see the ball for the rest of that quarter. But the Eagles only scored 7 points, but they just took 10 minutes to score them. So it's what's happening in soccer, football right now. Pep Guardiola's philosophy, where it's like, if we've got the ball, you can't score. Like, the best defense is if we have the ball, so you can't score. And Kellen Moore seems to just forget that. And when you have, look, I don't think Jalen Hurts is actually as talented as a thrower as we thought he was during that Super Bowl run. I think sometimes guys just get into a purple vein of form where they just go insane, right? Which is what happened, I think, in that Super Bowl run. But I think Kellen Moore might be the issue with the chemistry. And also, I think, to be fair to the Eagles, which is something that I don't love doing, A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith were injured for 2 weeks as well. So the chemistry is not going to look good their first time back. To be fair to the Eagles.
Yeah, you saying that. Yeah, I'm not
to
sure.
To be fair to the Eagles. And no, so I haven't said anything about Sirianni, because I don't think it's his fault that the offensive chemistry
Eagles fans aren't even fair to the Eagles, so I'm not sure.
Jay, that could answer the lack of chemistry. That was
one of my locks this week, though.
It is one of your locks this week. I don't see how the Giants have anybody who can stop A.J. Brown, so I'm going to take the Eagles in this one as well. And also, just an interesting question here, Jay. Did the Giants play possibly the worst looking football in the NFL?
It's just the way awful.
But the issue is, they get some wins and they're not horrendous. And as we've said, Daniel Jones is just going to play well enough where they can't draft the quarterback that's better than him.
I didn't look at the Giants schedule, but I'm betting it kind of looks like the Broncos schedule. And if you take out that Jets rain game, the Broncos only beat bad teams.
Yeah, I mean, but the Giants played the Cowboys close, and they played someone else really close. They played the Commanders really close as well.
Are we calling the Cowboys a good team this year?
Yeah, well, the Commanders are a good team, though. But they're divisional games.
Yeah, but that's a division. Well, and again, a division game is different too, right? Because we just talked about this Thursday. The Lions were ass for a lot of years, but they always played everybody in the division tough as fuck,
Yeah, and it's the thing is when you watch the Giants offense, they look awful as well. They might play the ugliest form of football.
Eye test is not friendly.
Eye test, it looks hideous. They look worse than the Browns. But actually, I think offensively they're better than the Browns, but they look worse than the Browns.
That says more about Brian Daboll, though, than anybody.
Yeah, and I think just the way that they have to play.
Right, you can win that ugly, because we all know Brian Daboll can coach. We watched what he did with Josh Allen. We know he can coach. Josh Allen's best years were under Brian Daboll.
He never coached ugly with Josh Allen either. His offense looked very nice with Josh Allen.
So he has to win ugly with Daniel Jones. But his last game proved it. He's fourth down, go for it. Go for it. Fourth and short, go. Because he knows the only way his team even has a shot to win. It's what we talked about Thursday. Good teams should not be going for it on fourth down and on. Bad teams, though, go for it. Because you're going to lose anyway. This is your shot at stealing possessions by doing that on fourth down. But it's going to hurt a good team to go for it on fourth and not get. I've always said, I like at times when you watch Kevin O'Connell or the Browns with Stefanski, even Dan Campbell at times, going for it on fourth is the right decision because of where you are on the field momentum. But there's guys who go for it too often, and the benefit of making it isn't as big as the loss of not getting it, right? Because you give up great field position, you turn over the ball for a first down. And I don't like when people give up points.
Yeah.
And go for it. I don't love it when you go for it on fourth and you're in a tight game and you give up points, especially if you have a good defense.
Yeah, I think if your defense is on top, I actually feel a bit better going for it. If I'm inside the 10, like if I'm outside the 10, I'm just going to take the points. But if I'm inside the 10, if I'm goal to go 4th and goal, I'll go for it if I feel my defense is on top, because at least I pin them inside the 10 anyway. So I feel like
the only argument I got, and it's not a big one, for me, it would be the 5.
The 5, right? Okay, yeah.
Okay, because if I'm playing the Lions and we're at the 8, just take the fucking 3 points. Like it, because the Lions can score.
Yeah, I think that's what I mean. Like if we were playing the Lions, I would take it as well there because the Lions are good, right? But if we were playing a team that were just dominant, like if it was the Broncos, like if it was a closer game and it was the Broncos on Thursday, where every time the Saints got the ball, it looked like the Broncos defense might score, I'd just say, yeah, take that.
I agree with you, but that's because Bo Nix doesn't scare me. Jared Goff can be scary, right? Patrick Mahomes can be scary. There's just certain guys where you're like, I don't care if it's 70 yards or 90 yards, this guy can do it. So, yeah, there is different times to do it. I just think Dan Campbell goes for it on 4th a lot with a really good team, which I think is bad coaching.
Yeah, but the Giants might play the ugliest style of football ever. Like, it is hideous. I remember saying I said,
petition.
Huh?
Turnover on downs needs to start counting as a turnover for defense.
Yeah, definitely. On fantasy especially, by the way.
Okay. But I just think it's unfair. You stop them. You turn the ball over on downs. That's still a turnover. The defense should get that stat because that's, to me, that's a bigger turnover than an interception on a first down play, right? Like you stuff them on 4th down, and you know it's 4th and short 99% of the time, and you still stuff them on 4th. I think that's big, and I don't think defenses get the credit. Defensive coaches don't get the credit they should get for that. It's such an offensive league that we forget to like give flowers to the defense.
Yeah, the defense, right? Staying in the state of New York, I know the Giants don't play in New York, but for the purposes of this, the Buffalo Bills are 9-point favorites against the Titans. Jay, how quickly does Amari Cooper gel with Josh Allen?
That's a good question. If Amari quits dropping balls, they'll be absolutely fine, which is not Amari Cooper like, but some trends last for a whole year. So I want to see if he can snap out of this thing, right? But it makes me think sometimes was Amari just not in a good headspace because the Browns are not in a good place. Now that Mason Rudolph's the quarterback, though, the point spread worries me more.
Yeah. Just with Amari, having seen Amari in Dallas, Amari is the moodiest wide receiver I've seen, but not in like a bad way where he's like a diva or anything like that. He's just like, if he's not feeling it, you can tell he's not feeling it. He's quiet and restrained, and I think he,
as your generation would say, his vibe is off.
When his vibe is off, right? When his vibe is off, that's what I was basically wanting to say there, Jay, but trying to stop myself. But when he's not feeling the vibes of that game, he just goes missing. That's what happens with Amari Cooper, and I think he was doing that in Cleveland.
Don't worry, Gen X, we're finally getting behind the whole idea of vibe, right? We don't always agree the same way that Gen Z does, but we feel what you're saying with the vibe.
I like vibes. I think vibes is a good way to go about it. But what should the point spread be between Mason Rudolph and Will Levis is what I've got here. But I think the point spread. So Mason Rudolph has earned the Titans a point, half a point, because this spread when I took it as the lock was 9.5. Well, so I've locked it in at 9.5. It's now 9.
Mason Rudolph actually moved the ball with that offense, and he didn't look like an accident waiting to happen. And I hate to quote Florio, but I'm gonna right here. Will Levis thinks he's fucking Carson Wentz. Like he does the dumbest shit at the worst possible time.
Yeah. I love Will Levis, and I think he's good to the league to have players that have his philosophy of playing quarterback there. I just think he needs to limit his mistakes. I think it's better. It would be better for the Titans over time to play Will Levis, and hopefully Will Levis just learns to cut out those mistakes. It'll be better for the Titans over time than going with Mason Rudolph. But Mason Rudolph is an excellent backup quarterback, can really move the ball. Loads of people have been saying the Bills' defense has been really good, and I agree with them. It's been decent, but it's not like scary. It's not like those. It's good because of the secondary, but not because of turnovers and stuff like that. So if you are starting so they're not going to get loads and loads of pressure on you. They're just going to stop you from scoring. Is a lot of the thing.
Feed the run. The Bills have proven you can run on them. Just feed the fucking run. And Mason Rudolph's job right now should be third down. That's like you should have third and short on every fucking drive, and just. And don't get me wrong, quarterbacks have to make plays to win games, but you can limit how many plays they have to make by running the ball and making sure you put them in easier positions. Run more screens. You know what I mean? Like run short passing games, that kind of thing, because that's an extension of the run. But you can eat up the Bills in the center. Like do you remember last year when I kept saying it got better last year? It was 2 years ago. But like I was like, the Vikings middle of the fucking field is killing me on defense. Yeah. That's the Bills this year.
Yeah, and I think what the Jets game proved to me is that just run on the Bills and keep Josh Allen on the sideline. Like
that's a good point too. Yeah,
that's again what we're talking about. It's like the Jets shouldn't have lost that game because Breece Hall was carrying for 7 yards a carry. So why did Aaron Rodgers throw 35 times? Not because Aaron Rodgers wasn't playing okay or anything like that. It's because it keeps Josh Allen on the sideline. Keep Josh Allen just away from the pitch. And again, if you have the ball, they can't win. And the Bills haven't won a game, or they've won 2 games by more than 1 score, and one of them's against the Jags, and I can't remember who the other one is. This is too many points for me.
Not to like rub an old wound for you, but that's how the Lions beat the shit out of the Cowboys at first. They just said, sit over there, Dak, and watch this.
Yeah. Just sit over there and watch this. And then what happens in your head then as well when you're on the sideline is, oh shit, I need to make the most of when I'm on the field, because then you've got to pass it. You can't run it. Like you're from immediately behind. And the Titans have looked good running the ball. I don't understand how they aren't averaging well over 100 yards a game, really, because Tony Pollard, if you can get him into space, is class. And TJ Spears is really good as well.
Will Levis wasn't picking up the third downs. That's what I'm saying. That's Mason Rudolph's job. If I'm telling him all this week, like John Elway used to say, quarterbacks get paid for third down. And I really believe that. Like now it's more of a passing league, and a lot of people pass on first down now when they didn't when Elway's in the league. But you really get paid to convert on third down as an elite quarterback. So, and I'm not saying Mason's elite, but if you want to win that game, you have to run the ball, eat the clock, and pick up third downs. That's like, it sounds easy. It's 3 things, right? Yeah. But that's really all they have to do to win.
Yeah, I'm feeling very confident in my lock on the Titans today. I think the Bills will win the game. I think they'll win it by 3. I don't think they'll win it by 9. Jay, who you got in this one? Because they also have Snead. Like the Titans have a good offensive.
I'm going with my gut. Give me the Bills.
All right. Okay.
I hate it. I shouldn't. I'm going to regret this as soon as we get off the show. I text you I don't remember what game, but I text you after the show last week, and I was like, should not have picked that game.
I really like it when we disagree on a lock. Like I feel like that's a fun, like that's always a fun, like I now have a reason to watch the Bills versus the Titans game that I just didn't have before. Jay, the Cleveland Browns are playing against the Cincinnati Bengals. The Cincinnati Bengals are 5.5-point favorites. Does Nick Chubb make a difference in this game for the Browns?
What do we mean by make a difference? Is he going to make their running game better? Probably. I don't know how rusty he's going to be. I don't know if he's 100% coming off of that either. I think the Browns are fucking dead, and I don't know what they're going to do. I think Mari Cooper is a bigger loss to them than it is a gain for the Bills.
Yeah, I think they've just lost their best player on offense, and Nick Chubb is their best player on offense, but isn't yet because he's not back yet. So we'll see where Nick Chubb goes. I don't think that Nick Chubb will be making a huge difference today. I think you can run on the Bengals. Like that's not my issue. I just don't think he'll be fit enough to make a huge difference today. And if Jerome Ford was there, but he's injured, I think Nick Chubb would be would make a bigger difference, right?
I'm holding on to him, just hoping they trade him in the next 2 weeks in fantasy. I'm holding on to Ford, hoping he gets traded to, like, if he got traded to, say, the Cowboys, I would be a happy guy, because I'd be like, they are going to feed this guy the fucking ball, like that kind of thing.
I'm being super stubborn on keeping Dalvin Cook and the Dallas Cowboys defense, because I just know. So the Dallas Cowboys defense, and they're getting all of their playmakers back who do this. They can give up 30 points, like totally fine, but they can also score you about 20 points on turnovers and all of those kind of things when everybody's
Payne's
back.
doing the same. Payne is holding on to the Vikings like it's gold right now, their defense, because all the turnovers and sacks.
I know. Well, I gave him the Vikings. I actually drafted the Vikings, but I traded the Vikings for the Cowboys defense, but we're all good. I'm not regretting that at all.
Sorry. I'm taking the Bengals -5.5.
Yeah, for this one, I don't think we need to do much talking. I'm going to take the Bengals -5.
I would have took the Bengals -7 in this game. So,
yeah.
I think the Browns are going to take an ass whooping. I think you're going to see the collapse. Zadarius Smith is now screaming that he wants to be traded to the Lions because he wants to play the Vikings, because he's still mad we wouldn't give him
the Vikings and the Packers.
Yeah, but we wouldn't give him a new deal after one season. Go fuck yourself, one season.
And he didn't really do much to earn it anyway. Jay, the game just outside of your house, the Green Bay Packers are 3-point favorites against the Texans. This is a lock for you, betting on the Texans.
I don't see how the Packers are favored. That I don't get it.
Yeah, so my question was, why are the Packers favorite in this game? And I just couldn't work it out whatsoever.
That's it. That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, so then I went, Jay, are the Texans the most under the radar 5-1 team in the league? Like, people seem to not realize that the Texans are 5-1. Their only loss is against the undefeated Vikings.
Like, I don't get this. And then last year they were everybody's darling, right? And now everybody's like, they can't play. And they have, I mean, 3 deep, they're one of the top fucking receiving cores in the NFL, if not the, right? Like, top receiving core. If you went 1 and 2, I could argue, like, Bengals, Vikings. I'm not saying they're better. I'm saying you could argue, right? But you're going 3 deep
1
to
through
take
3.
down.
Yeah.
I don't.
Collins is on IR at the moment.
Now, Stephon Diggs is he's not a Hall of Famer, but he's sure of the Hall of really fucking good.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, and let Diggs get a ring or two in his career, and he is a Hall of Famer. So, like, Nico Collins is better right now than Stephon.
He's on IR. Nico
right,
Collins,
but I'm saying just in depth, right? So Nico Collins, I would say right now in his career is better. Tank Dell is balling. You have a double-headed monster at running back. I don't get it.
I felt pretty good about saying that Tank Dell should be on fantasy lookout last week because he fucking balled out. Stay tuned for more fantasy players to watch later on as well, everybody. Also, make sure to like and subscribe. But Jay, I don't understand why the Packers are favorite in this game. I really don't get it. How good is Jordan Love is the question that I have for you, because I don't see it. I don't see it with him. I don't understand why Jordan Love is all of a sudden this amazing quarterback that everybody loves. I think his throwing style just lends to so much trouble for him, and he's just not quite good enough to get out of it.
Yeah, Jordan Love throws turnovers like he's Brett Favre, but he's not as talented as Brett Favre. So I'm not sure.
They almost look more consistent under Malik Willis as well. They were more actually just consistent. And also, I think the Packers get a really overrated defensive rating like every single year. I don't understand the Packers have this idea that they have an amazing defense every year, and I don't see it. They do have a great coach though. So Jay, I'm taking the Texans in that one. You're taking the Texans in that one as a lock as well. Jay, the Atlanta Falcons are playing the Seahawks. The Falcons are 3-point favorites in this one. Jay, what is the Falcons' biggest weakness?
Tight end.
Wow. Ouch. Thanks for that. Cheers. I have Kyle Pitts in my fantasy. I'm going to keep him in this week. I'm going to keep him.
I'm just saying, for all the hype Kyle Pitts gets, he's like average at best.
I'd say he's their most overrated player. For me, I think their biggest weakness is actually their pass rush, and I don't think they have an amazing pass rush, and they have one good corner, but I'm not really sure they've got another great corner as well. So I actually look at this game and think that Geno Smith could have a huge game in this one. Like, do you know that Geno Smith actually leads the league in passing yards this year? Like, it's really surprised me. It's because they're playing from behind the entire time. But
Kirk Cousins has owned Seattle in his history as being a quarterback too.
Yeah, I could see that. So I could see this just being the highest scoring game of the week. Is the way that I could look at this game here. Jay, who have you got in this one?
This was one of my locks. Falcons -3.
Yeah, I'm taking the Falcons in this one. I'm taking the Falcons in this one as well. But I think that this will be a big scoring game. I think Gino's going to have a big day, and I also think Kirk is going to have a big day as well. Hopefully that bodes well for me in fantasy with DK Metcalf and Kyle Pitts on my team. But Jay, the Indianapolis Colts, who are playing Anthony Richardson, are playing the Miami Dolphins. Jay, the Dolphins have had a bye now, and I know we've said this every single week, but really, this has to be the make it or break it for Mike McDaniel as an offensive genius. Coming off a bye, this is it, right? He has to show off here to be able to hold his thing of offensive genius.
Yeah, I don't think they'll fire him after this game or anything if they lose.
Yeah, no, I'm not putting him on the hot
seat. I think people are really starting to question Mike McDaniels. Or Mike McDaniel. Sorry, I put an S on it like he's Josh.
Yeah.
But I think they're going to lose. So I'm taking the Colts -3. I don't think the Dolphins have a shot until they get Tua back.
Yeah, did you see that Tua is in training? Did you see he's started training this week?
He said he plans on playing again this year.
Yeah, he's definitely playing this year. If he's come back to training, he's 100% playing this year. I just don't understand with all those weapons how the Dolphins aren't getting more done. Jay, what does Anthony Richardson do for you this week in terms of like actually moving the point spread and stuff like that? Like, do you think they're more likely to win with Anthony Richardson this week or less likely?
I think they're probably more likely to win with Joe Flacco, but I think this week they'll win with either. But you have to play Anthony Richardson. He's the future. And he didn't play a lot of football yet in his life. So he's still learning. But he's got so much talent that I'm not worried about it. He just needs to develop. And I don't think that anybody expects the Colts to make a run this year or anything anyway, where they're building for something in the future. But Joe Flacco gives you a better chance to win, but I'm not worried about it this week with Anthony Richardson.
Yeah. Do you think that Anthony Richardson is going to make it to his next contract with the Colts?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do as well. I think it's very difficult to turn down a guy who sometimes played like he did in week one, and hopefully we'll see more of that. He just needs to learn to slide and not use his back as a way for as target practice for
he needs to protect himself. And he's another one that just still has to work on his footwork, because when his footwork's good, he throws fucking dimes. When his footwork's off, he overthrows guys. And we've said it a million times, overthrow is the worst throw you can have in the NFL because it turns into a pick.
Anthony Richardson is a really bad overthrow of the ball as well. Like Geno Smith was bad last week, sailing it over, and it did genuinely look like they were going to get picked every time. But Anthony Richardson, if he misses someone, he is fucking missing someone. He is launching that into straight to where safeties are.
I'm going to beat the drum, but if they don't have their eyes married to their feet, it's a problem. And that was Sam Darnold's problem for a long time. And now if you watch Sam Darnold, his eyes and his feet are married. And I think that has a lot to do with Shanahan and now O'Connell. And I think sitting a year with Shanahan was huge for him coming into this Kevin O'Connell offense. So eyes married to feet. He's young. He'll get it. It's just when will it all click? Probably needs a whole nother offseason of working on it to start making it true muscle memory. Because what do they say? You got to do something 10,000 times for it to become muscle memory.
I think this might be one of those games that Anthony Richardson could really do as showing out. He's behind one of the best offensive lines in the league. He's against the team that's really struggling to do anything offensively. I think this is a game where he should be stepping up. I've got the Colts in this one as well, Jay. The Commanders are 9.5-point favorites against the Panthers, which is a huge point spread. I'm a little worried about that point spread in terms of, can the defense play well enough? Can the Commanders' defense play well enough against the Panthers to cover the spread? What have you got in this one, Jay?
I think the Commanders will win. I just don't love the point spread.
Yeah, I just don't know whether the Commanders' defense is good enough to hold up a 9.5-point spread. If it was 7, I'd be like, yeah, 100%. 7, that sounds good. They'll win by a touchdown. I think they're going to put up loads of points on the Panthers. I think that's not going to be a problem. I'm going to take the Commanders in this one at 9.5.
Give me the Panthers and the points.
Yeah, I think the Panthers have shown that they're able to run the ball, and the Commanders' defense is not really that good. So I'm pretty nervous with that one. Another one that I found was quite a nervy one, difficult to predict, Jay, was the Raiders versus the Rams. And I think the Rams are going to win this game. But the point spread of 7, I think, is a lot for the Rams when they're this injured. So when I saw the point spread of 7, I thought Cooper Kupp's definitely playing, Puka Nacua must be back, and all of Max Crosby must be sitting and all of that kind of stuff. But turns out Cooper Kupp is active but questionable, and Puka Nacua is not back. He's still on IR. Jay, are you playing Cooper Kupp in this game if you're the Rams?
Yes.
You get him out there even if he's questionable?
As long as the doctors say he can't make it worse, yes.
Yeah, it depends if they say he can make it worse, I guess. It's just they've got the Vikings next week. Should the Raiders also be looking at blowing things up and getting the picks for guys like Max Crosby? You think this is it? Just get those picks now.
They should blow it up. I don't think they should get rid of Max.
Yeah, I wouldn't get rid of Max. When you blow things up, you are allowed to keep some good players, by the way. Like, that is really important.
You need to keep a guy who's going to run the locker room, who's going to keep a culture, who's going to, be the veteran. And they had a veteran council of 3 that is now down to 1.
Yeah.
Like Max Crosby's the only one left who was on their veteran leadership council at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the Raiders as well, and I'm thinking, like, you could be bad enough to fix your quarterback problems in the draft this year, or like to attempt to fix it. Like, I think relying on a rookie QB to fix all of your quarterback problems is wrong and a stupid way to approach it. But you know what I mean? Just fix your cap problems, if you can fall into Shador Sanders, I think they might be bad enough to get that done this year.
I think the Raiders are in a disarray, and that's why I'm taking the Rams -7.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Rams -7 as well. Not particularly liking the point spread here, but I think Sean McVay is the best coach in the league as well, apart from maybe this guy, especially coming off a bye, because the 49ers versus the Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs are underdogs in this game with the 49ers at -1.5. Jay, is looking at this game, how badly do the 49ers need this win?
What's their record? 3-2?
They are...
I mean, I don't know if they need it. Like, I still think they're going to make... Okay, I think they'll still make the playoffs, but it's definitely a game you want to win. I don't understand how I'm so confused on how the 49ers are favored in this game.
Yeah, I think looking at it mentally in terms of need to win, it's Super Bowl matchup, like those kind of potential Super Bowl matchups, those kind of things, a team that they haven't been able to beat in the Super Bowl as well. I think it would be a big plus for them if they did win. But Patrick Mahomes is undefeated when he's an underdog in the spread. He's undefeated. He's also the best quarterback against the spread in the league. Andy Reid is one of the best coaches of all time off a bye. And the 49ers are 3-3 and not looking good. Like, the 49ers in certain games, especially that game against the Cardinals, I think too, like they aren't clicking in the way that you would expect a Shanahan offense to click. And most importantly, their defense is not good. Like, their defense just doesn't look that good this year. This was one of my locks. If the Chiefs are underdogs, I'm picking the Chiefs as a lock.
And the Chiefs aren't even playing their best football yet, and they're 5-0. So, like, and these guys are locked in on three-peating. Like it may or may not happen, but the players are locked in. Like they have a goal. They're not complacent. Like a lot of times you would think team wins 2 Super Bowls, they get complacent, they start feeling themselves. That's not the Chiefs. They are fucking locked in. And I think a lot of that has to do with Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce has been preaching on how hard it is going to be to win the third time. We need to focus. And I think that veteran leadership, Kelce hasn't been playing his greatest either, but people are saying, oh, he's playing like shit. No, he's getting double and triple covered at times. Like that he's opening up everybody else. I give me the Chiefs. Like I can't believe they're even.
Yeah, that,
if you would have been like the 49ers +4, I might have took them, but you're going to tell me the Chiefs and points? Give me the Chiefs.
Yeah, and it's the thing is with this game in particular is the 49ers just haven't. The 49ers just, if it was last year and it was the 49ers team of last year, like I'd totally get it. But the 49ers haven't been playing good ball whatsoever. And as you say, the Chiefs haven't been the Chiefs so far, but the Chiefs have been the Chiefs. This is how the Chiefs play. The Chiefs are now a defensive team that just plays solid offense enough to win a game. When are people going to realize that they just won a Super Bowl playing exactly the same style of football? Like, yes, Rashee Rice is going to be a big miss, but they don't need Rashee Rice. Like they will win without him. Like they don't need those kind of players. And the 49ers defense is also just not that good. When we look at it, the other thing that I have that I thought was a big surprise actually is, do you know that Brock Purdy is leading the league in time holding the ball before making the pass? I thought that was crazy. But then that also matches up with the fact that Brock Purdy has the most highest completion percentage and most throws at past the 10-yard line of throwing, averaging more than 10 yards and stuff like that as well. But that's the Chiefs' strength on the defensive side of the ball. So your strength of what you're trying to do this year, and they don't have Christian McCaffrey, they don't have Mixon either, and not Mixon. Who is it? Mason. They don't have Mason either. So their strength of throwing it down the ball goes against the Chiefs' strength. Their secondary and safeties have been unbelievable for 3 years now. And it blows my mind that people haven't caught up that this is just how the Chiefs play ball. And it's because they're too tied up in the fact that they think that Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce have been going away and doing too many acting lessons and too many adverts and all of that kind of fucking stuff. But that's just not the case. These guys are locked in a 3-3. Give me the Chiefs still as my lock in this one. Jay, we're going to Pittsburgh now, where the Russell Wilson-led Steelers, it would seem, are playing against the Jets. The Jets are 2-point favorites. Jay, do you think Russell Wilson is starting this game, or is it a clever ruse by Mike Tomlin where he's going to call it as Justin Fields about 10 minutes before the game?
Can't. You have to an hour before.
An hour before, and he has called it as Wilson, hasn't he?
I mean, I guess they could, because he's the number 2, technically probably get away with it. But no, I think they want to see, they got to see what they have in Russell Wilson too, because Justin Fields ain't winning you a Super Bowl. So you just want to be an average team with an average quarterback, which you've been an average team with a below average quarterback forever. I think you got to see what Russell Wilson can do.
I think definitely. I think most importantly, it's because Justin Fields has been making them play a winning game of football, but it's not Justin Fields that's the reason that they're winning football games, right? So he's playing within himself. He's not throwing loads of interceptions. He's like just running a decent team, and they're playing a decent style of winning football. But he's not the reason, and Russell Wilson can also do that.
If you go watch any of the games, he does not throw with any anticipation. They have to be open.
Yeah.
So
his accuracy is much better. His accuracy is much better, but his anticipation is horrendous.
He's got a ton of bad throws too. So I don't know how and he doesn't trust any reads, and they have to be open, and you can't win in the NFL waiting for guys to get open.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing in this game, Jay, will be, can the Jets O-line hold up against the Steelers defensive line with TJ Watt and the Cam Hayward and those guys, and the way that the Jets offensive line has looked. I think we'll see Devontae Adams, I'm sure, and I'm sure he'll gel well with Rodgers straight away. Like, they obviously know the offense already.
11 for 120.
11 for 120 to Devontae Adams this week.
Yep, 11 receptions for 120 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's Devontae Adams coming out party.
Will you be taking the Jets this week or the Steelers?
Yeah, Jets.
The Jets. I'm going to take the Steelers in this one. I don't think that Jets offense can hold up.
Is going to make you salty.
I just don't think that. Yeah, no, because he'll take all my receptions away from Garrett Wilson as well. But
Rodgers going to have the ball out in like 1.8 seconds, and
I just don't think they'll call the game right. I just don't trust the Jets to call this game right either. Like, anyway, so I'll take the Steelers in this one. Jay, we then move on to Tampa Bay, where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are playing against the Ravens. The Ravens are 3.5-point favorites. Jay, is Baker Mayfield a possible MVP candidate?
I don't have a problem if people throw him in the conversation.
I think at this point of the season,
I don't think
the season. Yeah,
I can tell you 5 guys who deserve it more than him right now.
Yeah, I think he leads the league in touchdown passes, but then he's also had a couple of bad games, and also like that's what I really like Baker Mayfield. I would put him towards the top of that conversation, but he has been throwing plenty of interceptions as well. In this one, Jay, the question is, can the Bucs stop the Ravens' run game? That I think is where we come down to this week.
I don't think nobody's ever going to totally stop the run game because Lamar Jackson's part of that too. So even if you stop Derrick Henry, which good luck on that, you're not going to stop Lamar from getting off too.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think, again, this is one of those games where I just want to keep the ball and I just want to keep the other team on the side. Like, ideally, I'd do that every single game, but I think there's a few games where it's like, yeah, just keep the Bucs on that sideline.
I think if you take out the first 2 games, the Ravens are the best team in the AFC, and I'm going to say give me the Ravens minus the 3.5.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the Ravens are the best team in the AFC as well. Give me the Ravens at 3.5 in this one. And Jay, our final game of this week is the Cardinals are against the Chargers. The Chargers are 1.5-point favorites. Jay, is this a game of boring in the Chargers versus exciting in the Cardinals, and who wins in that battle?
I think it's a game of boring versus boring. And and I'm taking the Chargers minus the 1.5 because I think they'll play defense, they'll run the ball, and they're going to do exactly what you were saying, and they're going to keep Kyler and that offense on the sideline. Also, Again, I have way more faith in Harbaugh as a coach.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you on that one. I've got the Chargers as my lock for this one. I think it's the styles of football just clashing here. This is exactly what the Cardinals do badly, going up against these hard-nosed, strong teams that are just going to run it down their throat. And they don't stand up to that, and it's a culture thing. And I think, Jay, do you think the culture's changed in the building in the Chargers since Harbaugh's got there? I definitely think that as well. I think they're now I've always thought of the Chargers as a bit of a finesse and style team, right? But now they're about the win. Now they just win the fucking game, right? And that's all they have to do to beat this point spread. Basically, they just have to win the game. It's 1.5 points. So, all right, win the game by 2.
Yep, give me the Chargers.
Yeah, give me the Chargers in that one as well. Jay, we are now moving on to segment 3 of the show where we have the fantasy players to watch. This is where we take our top 3 NFL fantasy players to watch this week. That doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be the best players. It's the players you should keep an eye on for if there's any potential trades, any potential people to pick up in free agency.
You go first because I have to handle something quick.
Yeah, of course, Jay. My number 1 is New England Patriots wide receiver Polk. Now, he looked excellent last week in his connections with Drake May, but obviously that game is over. That game is over now. But I think we should have been watching out for Polk and look at what he's got. Like, have a look at what he's got in fantasy. I don't have it up on my screen right now, but an important player to see how he's going to be over the next few weeks. I think another player that's going to be really important, a bit of a boring one here, Jay, is Amari Cooper, obviously on a new team with Josh Allen. He's going to be the lead receiver on one of the most heavy throwing offenses in the league here. I think he's really important to watch. And Nick Chubb coming back as well. What kind of form is Nick Chubb going to be in? Is he ready to go from your bench to your starting lineup? At the moment, I wouldn't be putting him in this week. I'd be watching him this week as a view to put him in next week. Jay, who are your three?
First, Deebo Samuels. Deebo Samuels has got to go off this week for the 49ers to even have a chance in this game with the injuries. So Deebo's a big one I think everybody should watch. I just gave everybody my number 2, because if you think a guy's going off for 11 for 120 and 2 touchdowns, that's a guy you got to play in your fantasy team. So you got to put Devontae Adams in there. And always, I don't think you can go wrong, but I really think that this is a big game for Jaden Daniels. I think he goes off on this game against the Panthers. So if you're looking for a guy who's going to get you a ton of points in fantasy, it's Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, I think Jaden Daniels is in for a big week this week, which is what I'm quite excited about. And you've got him in another league as well, don't you, Jay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Lamar's my backup in that league.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like it's crazy to me what some fantasy football leagues can look like when you're not playing with 14 teams.
Well, and it's wild because in our league I'm 5-1, in another league I'm 6-0, and in another league I'm 3-3. So go figure. Yeah, but I'm only 3-3 in one of those leagues. So I'm playing a guy who's 5-1 though this week in my league that I'm 6-0. So I got a tough one coming this week.
Exciting, big games. I'm trying to beat Duffy without having to pick up I'm going to pick up one of the defenses on Monday Night Football if I have to, depending on how close it is, because they're all available. All right. So, Jay, we're going to the Brits picks now. This is my power rankings going into week 7 here. This is what I've got. I've swapped the Baltimore Ravens over with the Washington Commanders after the Baltimore Ravens win over the Commanders. I do think the Ravens are the best team in the AFC, but I think the Chiefs, just if they played today, I would still pick the Chiefs just because of how the Chiefs go up against them. The Vikings defense is confusing absolutely everyone. So I'm happy with my 1, 2, 3 there. I think the Commanders are young and talented. I think they've got so many places to go with where they are. They just need to improve their defense. The Detroit Lions put a beat down on the Cowboys. They've definitely moving up. The Texans up 5-1 as well, taking care of business against the Patriots. They're moving up as well. Then I got the Bucks, the 49ers, who just made it in there at 8, the Atlanta Falcons, and the Buffalo Bills. Jay, what problems have you got with that?
Nothing. The only thing I might swap out, and it's a might, is I might put the Packers over the Bills.
Yeah, I was thinking about the Packers as well, but I want to see more from that Packers defense.
I don't love that you have the Vikings number 1. Well, I love that you have the Vikings number 1, if that makes sense. So
yeah, that definitely makes sense to me, Jay. I get what you're saying. So, everybody, this is my power rankings going in to this week. And just to finish off, Jay, here, shall we have a quick reaction to the game in Wembley, London?
What's the score?
The Jags beat the Patriots 32-16. The Jags moved to 2-5 on the year. What does that game mean for Doug Peterson?
That he keeps his job. I think he keeps his job for another week. For me, I will go back and watch this game though tonight or tomorrow because I want to see how Drake May plays. Yeah,
Drake May looks like he had a pretty good game actually. He went 26-37, threw for 276 yards, 2 touchdowns and no interceptions. So pretty crazy that they only scored 16 points and they got beat that heavily. But yeah, we'll have to go back and watch that game. But I think that win is really big for the for Doug Peterson. I agree with you. I think he keeps his job just because it's so difficult to sack someone coming off a win. But I think that's a mistake for the Jaguars. I think it would have been better for the Jaguars if they lost that game.
I don't think yet. Like, so look.
Okay. Yeah, so I've actually
got playing good, even though he's slow as fuck. So I don't know.
I've got Chase Brown in my fantasy team as well, and he's one of the guys that's been causing me problems as whether to put him at flex. I've put Devon Achane at flex in front of him just because, like, starting running back for the Vikings. You get worried with Chase Brown that Zach Moss will take touches off him, but Chase Brown has looked so good when he's got the ball in his hands. If Chase Brown has the ball in his hands enough this week, he'll get you way more points than Najee Harris. But if you're looking at guaranteed touches, I would take Najee. I'd go for the risk, the high risk, high reward of Chase Brown is who I'd go for.
Yeah, I do think they are going to feed Najee Harris today too. So, but
yeah, keep Aaron Rodgers on the sideline.
And the way the Jets just got gashed by the run last week, I don't know.
Well, big news for the Jets that I forgot to mention, actually, and it applies to this, what we're talking about. Hassan Reddick has signed a contract with the Jets and will be playing from Monday. We'll be reporting on Monday, Hassan Reddick. What difference does that make to the Jets? I feel like the Jets keep on wrestling back the narrative. I feel like they got the narrative taken away from them with their loss against the Bills, and then they got Devontae Adams in. And then the narrative started to change a little bit, where it was like, how much of a difference does Devontae Adams make? So then they signed Hassan Reddick as well.
Well, I think that had a lot to do that CAA fired Hassan Reddick, and he had to go hire Drew Rosenhaus because CAA had a bunch of deals lined up that they wanted him to take, and he wouldn't. So they're like, we can't represent you anymore. I think Drew Rosenhaus talked him into being Reddick into being reasonable, and that's why he's there. I think he makes a difference moving forward. I don't think he makes a difference immediately. You got to learn the scheme. You got to gel, all of that shit. But good for them.
I think he helps them against the run, right? But yeah, Najee Harris is going to get you a guaranteed 10 points or something, like guaranteed 10 points because they'll just feed him the ball, but he averages about 3 yards a carry. Whereas Chase Brown, if Zach Moss goes off early and starts like going 5 yards a carry and they're not giving it to Chase Brown. But in the passing game, Chase Brown is far more prevalent than Najee Harris as well. So I would go for Chase Brown if I was you and I was in that situation. Jay, that is another Sunday pre-game show. Thank you everybody for watching. Really appreciate it. Jay, why don't you send us off?
All right, everybody, if you haven't already, please hit that like and subscribe. We are really close to 700. We need one more person. So if you haven't, hit that like and subscribe. Also, make sure you check it out. Montana and Mark killed it on College Football Junkies, and they'll be back again next Saturday morning. That's like 8 o'clock Central Time, so that's like 9 o'clock Eastern. So if you want to check that out, they ran for over 2 hours just talking some college ball too. It was a good time. Yeah. Make sure you check that out. And hey, share this. Share this with your friends. They need this show in their life. And like Tom K said, just hit the like. It ain't going to hurt nothing.
Yeah, just a reminder, guys, that just because we do everything live doesn't mean you only have to watch it live. You can come back and watch it whenever you want. So do come back and watch our stuff as well.
All right. Thanks for watching. One world, one love. Deuces.